All right. I believe we are live. I don't know what happened there. I went. Okay, I think we're good. I think we are good. Just double checking, making sure. I think we're good. Yes, we are good. Okay. I hit the go live, and it said the channel didn't exist and to contact Google support or something like that. And I got very concerned for a second, but I think we're okay. Just the issue on OBS. All right, guys. Today is April 30th, and Alberta is not happy. That is the kind of theme of today's stream. There's a few things we're going to go over. As of right now, it looks like they are still going to return on May 26th. I don't know. Anything could happen at this point, but it looks like they are still set to return. Then this is the House of Commons. And if we actually look at, hold on, let me get the Senate. There's nothing. Nothing in the Senate at all for the entire year. They haven't changed the schedule or anything. So I don't know what's going on there. Just to like prove to you this is the website and everything, but I don't know. No updates on that front. We're gonna get into some results here for a few different ridings, and obviously you're free to vote for whoever you please. But I personally just don't understand voting for the PPC at this point in time. You are taking votes from the conservatives, and by doing this, you have allowed a more extreme leftist government to get into power. Now, yes, the conservatives aren't perfect by any means, but they would have been better than another 4 years of Carney, another 4 years of the exact same government. Sean Fraser, Anita Anand, Chrystia Freeland, Rena Gould, all of these ministers are getting back in to their ridings. But my point being, when the conservatives lose by like roughly 300 votes, and you see that the PPC probably could have pushed us over, that's just like one of the many things you can take into consideration. Yes, obviously the NDP still taking a massive amount of votes. And yeah, you could say the same thing about them as well. Your party was done for at the end of the day. Jagmeet essentially waved the white flag at his last rally. He pretty much admitted that he threw all of Canada under the bus just to spite Pierre Poilievre so they didn't get a majority. And yet 2.9% in Kitchener-Conestoga still voted for him. That would have been the pushover right there. But I'm specifically talking about the PPC here because they are more right-leaning than the conservatives here in Canada are. And instead of voting for the more center right-leaning party opposed to the more extreme, or which allowed the extreme left-leaning party to get another 4 years, instead of voting for that center right, this happens, right? And the way I look at it is, if the conservatives were to have gotten in, it would have opened up the opportunity for the PPC to potentially get more voters as the country shifts more and more right-leaning. That's just the way I look at it. When the tide rises, all ships go up with that tide. And if you are a right-leaning party, you'd think you would want at least the center right-leaning party to win over the extreme, complete, utter opposite of your party, the liberal extremist left wing. So I don't know. That's just kind of the way I look at it. This is one of the many ridings. Here is another one. Let me get the full view there. This one is specifically Brampton, so say what you want about that, but PPC, once again, 274.7% of the vote. That could have pushed the Conservatives to win there. Almost 2,300 votes for the PPC, 4.8%. That could have pushed the Conservatives to win. Same thing with the NDP. Once again, not gonna just say the PPC is to blame here. A lot of people still voted NDP, and I find it kind of interesting that the NDP and the PPC are kind of trading here roughly with how many votes they have. They're really not that far off from one another. 737, 698, like they're not that far off. Which just shows how much damage Jagmeet has done to the NDP as a party. He has decimated them. I said it time and time again. They are going to be a fraction of what they are. And, I mean, everybody kind of predicted it. Everybody knew it was going to happen, but my God. It's kind of crazy to see. They have, what, 5 seats total now? That's, they get what they deserve. They absolutely deserve every second of it. The NDP, they deserve it all. I'm surprised they actually didn't get completely net zeroed as a party, to be honest with you. The fact that they even held those 5 seats, that's pretty crazy. But my point is, these ridings right here could have pushed over to Conservative if the vote would have swung that way more, or if the PPC voters would have taken a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit more lenient of a take here, right? Like, as I said, you vote for the more center right-leaning party to try and get away from this extreme left-leaning party. I know the PPC doesn't align with the Conservatives at all. Like I said, they're a lot more right-leaning. But the overall drive to a more right-leaning country would have helped the PPC. I'm just saying. It would have. A Conservative win most likely would have helped the PPC more. More people thinking to that side of politics and start leaning that way as a country as a whole, yes, it would have helped them. Moving on, though, not dwelling on this. We got other things to dwell on, like this fool right here. This is why the PPC voters vote the way they do. Because there are so many conservatives that aren't actually conservatives. They're liberals in conservative clothing. Doug Ford. My goodness, man. He said Mark Carney was just a super intelligent and smart guy just to lead Canada into the future. But at no point in time did he ever come out and back Poilievre. No point in time did he say, I think Poilievre is a strong choice. If he did, I didn't see it. But this guy, here he is, having breakfast with Mark Carney. Absolutely crazy. And something that actually kind of makes me happy here. Conservative MP Jamil Giovanni gets reelected in his riding, which first off, I think Jamil is a very, very strong and powerful voice in the House of Commons. So to have him returning is a big plus. This guy will stand up. He will say what he wants. He might repeat the odd conservative slogan or catchphrase, but most of the time he actually goes off completely on his own accord. His own little rant or whatever piece of paper that he's brought with him. He is a very powerful speaker and a very, very strong figure for the Conservative Party going forward. And he absolutely destroys Doug Ford, goes nuclear. That's a good way to put it, on Doug Ford. And he's 100% right.
Tonight, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we have a great team here in Bowmanville, Oshawa North. Very excited and happy to bring home a victory.
I do want to ask you, Mr. Giovanni, because you've just spoken to your supporters, a large group that's here at the pub here in Bowmanville, North Oshawa, and you said to them, among other things, that Doug Ford was a problem for you in this campaign. You said that he sabotaged the Conservative campaign. That's your words. You said he was a hype man for the Liberals. Take me through how you see that.
Yeah, well, look, Doug Ford just went through an election. I have differences of opinion with him. I don't like how he's managed healthcare or education, but out of respect, we didn't say anything. Federal party, we didn't get in his way. When it was our turn to run an election, he couldn't stay out of our business, always getting his criticisms and all his opinions out, distracting our campaign, trying to make it about him, trying to position himself as some kind of political genius that we needed to be taking cues from.
Was it him specifically? Was it his campaign manager, Corey, tonight? Do you see Doug Ford as a problem for the federal party in the outcome of this race?
I see Doug Ford as a problem for Ontario and for Canada. I think he's not doing a great job in running this province, and now he's trying to exercise his influence over other levels of government, and it's not like this guy is doing anything particularly well. I mean,
you did used to work for him.
I did. I'm speaking from experience. I tried to fix problems in this province, and he kept getting in his way and all his goons around him all the time. They wouldn't make anything better, and now we're seeing him because this guy's a political genius because he beat Bonnie Crombie and Stephen Del Duca, and now we got to sit around getting advice from him? No. He has taken the provincial Conservative Party and turned it into something hollow, unprincipled, something that doesn't solve problems. He's glad-handing with Chrystia Freeland, having coffees and lattes with Mark Carney, and I'm sitting here saying...
Having coffees and lattes with Mark Carney, which was the photo I just showed earlier, and that might not have been the first time he's done it either. He's probably done it multiple times. As a matter of fact, Doug Ford, he boasts about how he doesn't believe in political stripes, and he believes that, oh, I can just sit down and have a conversation with anybody. The simple fact of the matter is, Doug, the people you're sitting down and having a conversation with do not believe in the same things that the party you are with does. It's the whole reason that there's a opposition to the government. It's how the parliamentary system works, and you are a part of the Conservative government that is opposing the Liberals, and here you are backing them. Doug Ford, for the love of God, just come out and say you are a Liberal, because that's just what you are at the end of the day.
We need to be fighting for change and something new and something different, not being a hype man to the Liberal Party.
Some would argue that the challenge within the federal Conservative movement is that there are these divisions, divisions that in some ways you're outlining tonight, and that it is the thing that stops or prevents, holds back the federal party from the majority government that it seeks. Do you see that as a possible outcome to some of the fractions and frictions that exist within the federal party?
There is a lot of unity from Conservatives across the board. Peter MacKay and Stephen Harper and Jason Kenney, James Moore, all sorts of people who've been part of our movement for a long time, united behind Pierre. They're opportunists like Doug Ford, and I think it's not about ideology or differences of beliefs. It is about some people believing our purpose as Conservatives is to be an alternative to what the Liberals offer, and then there are people like Doug Ford who are opportunists, and I reject that outright.
Do you have any leadership ambitions?
Look, we have a leader of our party right now. We're still waiting in for the final seat counts. I don't know what tomorrow holds. My focus, though, is on all the young people, all the parents, the moms, the dads who came to us and trusted us to offer an alternative, a brighter future. We're going to see that through. We're going to keep fighting, and when the next federal election comes around, Conservatives will earn the trust of more voters, and we will bring home a victory nationally.
My last question to you looks at the results. As we speak here right now, 160 for the Liberals, 151 for your Conservatives. This is a lot closer of a race than some had expected. Why do you think that is?
Well, look, I think a lot of people misunderstood just the frustration that Canadians felt. All these polls that showed Conservatives far below the Liberals, I think we're missing how many young people saw our party as the party of dreamers and hustlers and strivers and builders. That is our identity for young people, and we are going to continue offering them that vision for Canada. As we continue to see progress made, earning more trust, growing our party, getting more union support, police support, young families, working class families, I think we will see this identity that Pierre Poilievre has helped develop crystallize further, and our party will only go up from here.
Jamil Jivani, thank you very much.
And like I said, Jamil Jivani, very strong voice, very good figure, very good figure for the Conservative Party. Doug Ford, on the other hand, no, not so great. Sadly, the other choices of Ontario premiers were not great either. It's kind of like choosing the nicest pile of dog shit. Excuse my language, but it's just the truth. Uh, Going into this next part here, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this already. I personally haven't. I have not watched this yet. This is the final speech of Pierre after I'm pretty sure they got the results in. As you can see, not not too happy on his face, and a lot of Canadians in utter disbelief, including myself, that people could want another 4 years of what we just had for 10. So, anyway, I digress. Moving forward, I have not seen this. If you have, this is what I'm going to be watching. But I have other things to get into. Obviously, the main topic, Alberta. We will be getting into that after this. So don't go anywhere if you are interested.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's with profound gratitude that I stand before you today at the moment of this historic election. Because only in Canada could the story that Anna and I bring to the stage be possible. Adopted son of school teachers and a Venezuelan refugee, stand on this stage in front of our proud country, offering ourselves up to serve for the future, after millions of people have shown up and marked their X, spoken their voice, and exercised their democratic rights. We could not be more proud, we could not be more grateful for the opportunity the Canadians have given us. And speaking now of Anna, I want to take a moment to thank my incredible wife. She's been by my side. She's my rock. I love and cherish you and our little ones more than you'll ever know. And I could not have done any of this without you. Thank you so much. I love you. Now, my message to Canadians. The promise that was made to me and to all of you is that anybody from anywhere could achieve anything, that through hard work, you could get a great life, you could have a nice, affordable home on a safe street. My purpose in politics is and will continue to be to restore that promise. Thank you. To the candidates who ran under our banner as Conservatives, to the volunteers who knocked on the doors, made phone calls, put up lawn signs, rallied at our events, donated their hard-earned money to our cause, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. To the millions of people who voted for the Conservative Party and put their hopes and dreams in our vision, thank you. It will be an honor to continue to fight for you and to be a champion of your cause as we go forward. Ça serait un grand honneur de continuer de me présenter et surtout que je mes ramener to celebrate tonight. To my fellow Conservatives, we have much to celebrate tonight. We've gained well over 20 seats. We got the highest share of vote. Our party has received since 1988. We denied the NDP and Liberals enough seats to form a coalition government, meaning and we did all of this in a very difficult environment. That said, we are cognizant of the fact that we didn't quite get over the finish line yet. We know that change is needed, but change is hard to come by. It takes time. It takes work. And that's why we have to learn the lessons of tonight so that we can have an even better result the next time the Canadians decide the future for the country. Canadians have opted for a razor-thin minority government, a virtual tie in the vote count. So I would like to congratulate Prime Minister Carney on leading this minority government. We'll have plenty of opportunity to debate and disagree, but tonight we come together as Canadians. We will do our job. Yes, we will do our job to hold the government to account, but first...
And they'll be stronger than ever to do so as well, because they've gained a lot of seats. Like, the NDP losing all their seats, a good majority of them, most likely, and the Bloc as well losing seats, a good majority of them probably went Liberal. But the Conservatives across the board gained a decent amount. So, it's gonna really come down to if the NDP, the remaining like 5 or 6 of them, form a coalition with the Liberals, or if they disband the NDP altogether and form a majority. I don't know. I don't think the NDP will do that. They probably still want to be their own party, but they're not going to be able to do anything. They don't even have official status anymore, I don't think. At least I don't think they do. They needed over 10. So they're done. And if they disband as a party, and they'll probably go Liberal if they do, they will have a majority. I don't know if they'll do that. The Bloc could still play a heavy role in this with the Conservatives. Potential that they could go up against the Liberals, but I think the Bloc is also, like, the leader's come out and said he wants to make a truce with Carney for the best interest of Quebecers, as that video I posted yesterday. So everything is up in the air right now, and honestly, I'm kind of just waiting for the House of Commons to start again. We need question period back. We need them to actually get their asses back to work.
We congratulate people from all political backgrounds on participating in the democratic process. And as I said, while we will do our constitutional duty of holding government to account and proposing better alternatives, we will always put Canada first as we stare down tariffs and other irresponsible threats from President Trump. Conservatives will work with the Prime Minister and all parties with the common goal of defending Canada's interests and getting a new trade deal that puts these tariffs behind us while protecting our sovereignty and the Canadian people. I want to thank my Conservative team, my caucus, my members of the Conservative staff and others who've helped reshape the entire political landscape in this country. Conservatives have achieved major breakthroughs tonight. We brought in record support from blue-collar and unionized workers, youth, new Canadians. We gave voices to countless people across this country who've been left out and left behind for far too long. We won the big debates of our time on the carbon tax, on inflation, on housing, on the drug crisis, on crime. Conservatives have been leading the debate, and we will continue to put forward the best arguments to improve the lives of our people right across this country. But we will not stop there. Every single day, our Conservative caucus and I will be holding the government to account on behalf of the millions of Canadians who believed in the message of change. En tant que parti, on observe vraiment. J'ai eu partager leurs préoccupations, leur peine, time out of their day to tell me about their struggles, their pain, their fears, but also their hopes and dreams. Welders and waitresses, farmers and factory workers, seniors, small business owners, and single mothers, young Canadians and young families pleading for the chance to own a home, parents who worried that their kids would never be able to move out of their home, grandparents who saw their grandchildren suffering from the shortfalls of our economy, and countless others who are afraid to go outside because of the rising wave of crime. All of these stories touched my heart and gave me inspiration to work towards something better. These people continue to need voices, and I will continue to fight for them every day, and every day we will never give up on fighting for the Canadian people. Thank you. We hear your stories. We will carry those stories with us into Parliament. We will not forget the people for whom we work and for whom we fight every day. Now, I know that some of you might be disappointed that change did not get over the finish line tonight. Change takes time. Most of all, it requires that we never give up, because our people and our country are worth fighting for. Je vous ai entendu et vos pour qui ont décidé le changement peuple mérite today, and the millions of people who voted for other parties. And so, my message tonight, for the single mother working 2 jobs but still has an empty fridge and an empty bank account, for the young people who despair at never being able to afford a home, for the seniors on fixed incomes whose savings are eroded by inflation and no longer feel safe in their local neighborhood parks, for those who are now living in fear and terror because of crime, for those worried about losing their jobs because of unacceptable tariffs from the United States of America, for all of those who feel left behind and forgotten, my message is one of hope. Change will take time, but we will fight for that change, and we will deliver that change. And we will never give up on fighting for the great Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful house on a safe street protected by our brave troops under our proud flag. Canada first, Canada always. Let's bring it home. Thank you very much, Canada. Merci beaucoup, Canada.
Okay, so there you have it. The final speech from Pierre, the concession speech. Obviously, the race not going in their favor. Alberta. This is what we're leading into now. Not happy by any means, and as a matter of fact, hold on, there we go. They apparently have surpassed the required 177,000 signatures to trigger a referendum process. They are currently at 192. And this is coming after that changed from 600,000 to 177,000. So Danielle Smith slashed the number of signatures to trigger an Alberta independence referendum, and they've already surpassed it, at least on that change.org website. I don't know if that is the legitimate site to vote on, or if you want to do this. I have no idea. This happens, which they always threaten it. Alberta always threatens they want to leave, but the fact that she slashed the numbers that significantly as well, guys, yeah, I don't know. I did have, she had like a whole speech here. I had a video up, but it disappeared on me. See if I can find it again in the meantime. Yeah, this is wild. Like I said, they always threaten it, but looks like they want it more than ever. Truly does. And if I can't find the video, we can just head on to the next thing that I have here. Oh no, this is it right here. Here we go. Here we go.
The government has taken hostile actions against Alberta and against the Constitution and against our right to develop our resources. And every action we have taken has been to reassert that the Constitution matters, the division of powers matters. And so I, at the very beginning of the campaign, said whoever got elected, I would expect them to address the 9 offensive pieces of legislation and policy that prevent us from being able to exercise our constitutional jurisdiction to develop our resources. We want to see a guaranteed access to economic corridors that include pipelines to get to new markets. We want the repealing of Bill C-69 so that we do not have an unending process for approvals that essentially means no more pipelines can be built. We need to lift the tanker ban off the BC coast. We need to eliminate the oil and gas emissions cap that has been proposed, which is a production cap. We need to scrap the so-called clean electricity regulations. We need to end the treatment of plastics as toxic. We need to abandon the net zero car mandate. We need to return oversight of the industrial carbon tax fully to provincial jurisdiction. And we need to halt the federal censorship of energy companies. I mean, this is all very reasonable requests. And so I've put that on the table. I know that the opposition leader said that they were very reasonable. Prime Minister Carney, it's a little unclear. And so I'm going to work over the next 6 months to try to get those things addressed. Because if it is the case that that there's a consensus now about getting our energy to market, getting our resources to market, finding new markets, these are kind of the baseline to reset the relationship with Alberta.
And so you mentioned those 9 propositions that you want them to move forward with. As far as I know, Carney has a soft commitment to 2 of them about the energy corridors and an even softer one about the emissions cap. And yet, 28% of Albertans vote for him. So how do you reconcile that? And what do you say to Albertans who voted for a party that opposes what you think are Alberta's crucial interests?
I'll tell you what I think. I think that over 300 MPs got elected because they stood on a platform to get our resources developed, to work with provinces to establish economic corridors, and to get our products to market. I think the NDP got crushed, the Greens got crushed, and the Bloc Québécois lost ground because they were opposed to that agenda. And so I would hope that the current Prime Minister understands that his mandate comes from moderate voters who actually want this province to be a genuine energy superpower and the country to be a genuine energy superpower. And so that's why I believe we saw the outcome that we got last night. It wasn't because they doubled down on extremist environmental policies that would crush our industry. It was the opposite. They depicted themselves as wanting to create a new approach, one that would be in sync with what all the provinces are asking for, and that's what I'll be asking the Prime Minister to do.
And there's also a lot of people that just have Donald Trump living rent-free in their head and can't separate our politics from America. And let's dive a bit further into this whole Alberta issue, shall we?
BC News Decision Desk is ready to make a call. Canada's next government will be a Liberal government.
I thought she was going to yell out, "Cool Ranch Doritos!"
Whether it will be a minority or majority, becoming some of those close races we were talking about. This marks a 4th Liberal mandate. Very rare in Canadian politics. But the Liberal Party, led by Mark Carney, has pulled it off. A stunning reversal, a Liberal comeback with a first-time politician as leader. You're looking live there at the Liberal Party headquarters right now.
Yeah, the Conservatives didn't do very well. Poilievre lost his own seat, the man running for Prime Minister.
Yeah, and it looks like they're either going to have to swap him out for another Conservative, or they're going to have to find a new figurehead for the party and leader of the opposition. I don't know who is going to get switched out if they decide to do that, but that's what I read. It was a CTV article, I believe, that they were going to look at switching one of the MPs out for Poilievre. I don't know. Only time will tell.
And, of course, a lot of them have blamed Donald Trump because of the tariffs and it put them in an unwinnable position. But, you know, you can't say that you are your own nation going your own way and then blame your national election results on the country to the south of you if you're truly independent. And Carney, who is, I would argue, and make the case, and, of course, Laying the Brain here has been on this like a dog on a bone, he's a Chinese shill. To be clear, this is a really, it's not a Trojan horse. This is out in the open. Carney wasted no time, immediately started attacking Donald Trump, the United States. Keep in mind, right? That's the foreground. The background is he's been cozying up to China on every level for a long time.
President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never, ever happen.
But China.
Yeah. But we also must recognize the reality that our world has fundamentally changed.
Okay. So Donald Trump took to truth and weighed in on this as far as what he thinks should be the elected leader of Canada. He said, "Elect the man who has the strength and wisdom to cut your taxes in half, increase your military power for free to the highest level in the world, have your car, steel, aluminum, lumber, energy, and all other businesses quadruple in size with zero tariffs or taxes if Canada becomes the cherished Very cherished. 51st state of the United States of America. No more artificially drawn line from many years ago. I will say that's important. I'm coming back to that. Look how beautiful this landmass would be. Free access with no border, all positives with no negatives. And it was meant to be.
It's like a romantic novel.
This is exactly why Trump wanted Carney in power to begin with, because as Carney increases the industrial carbon tax, it's only going to make companies want to leave Canada further. And if Trump continues the tariffs, it's only going to make companies want to move to the United States. So, I can't imagine being a natural gas or resources company and just continuing to get taxed by the government when there is our neighbors directly under us who you could work for and not get taxed at all. As a matter of fact, probably get incentives to work and bring natural gases and resources all around the country.
And it's important, too, when he talks about artificial lines. Let me ask you this, because the lines join Alberta with the rest of Canada, who, by the way, they're represented by Carney right now. Alberta, I think it was something like 34 seats out of 37. I don't know the actual number. Something like that went Conservative.
Yeah.
They are not represented by the rest of the... And the lines adjoin them to communists. That would be like Texas, right, being the only state left that still believes in the Constitution, and we were surrounded by communists who decided to shred it openly. That's where Alberta finds themselves. And Alberta, I get it, a lot of you don't want to be the 51st state because there's Canadian pride. I understand that. I think there are multiple ways to skin a cat. But this brings us to Alberta. And before I continue, look, if you guys are not Rumble Premium members, we are funded by viewers like you. That's why we're able to do this. It's $99 annually. You get 100% more show. You get Dr. Disrespect. You get Tim Pool. You get Russell Brand. You get Nick DePaul. You get all kinds of additional content and ad-free, or try it for $9.99 a month. Otherwise, the whole lineup free stuff goes away too. So just click that button below. We appreciate your support. If not, let us earn it in the days to come.
I just should point out that I am not sponsored by Rumble, but I'm stealing Steven Crowder's shit here, so I'm going to let him shill whatever he wants to.
Alberta. Okay. In Alberta, all references are publicly available. Conservatives won the popular vote by a 2-to-1 margin. Okay?
Jeez.
2 days ago, Politico ran this headline: "The quiet threat to Canadian unity isn't Quebec, it's Alberta." And the reason, when I grew up in Quebec, right, Quebec wanted to separate all the time from Canada, and they would have these referendums, but it never really happened.
And they still want to. Quebec still doesn't want to be a part of Canada, and they've made that quite clear. Yves Blanchet himself even saying he doesn't want to be Prime Minister of Canada and that he's happy just working for the best interest of Quebecers and not all of Canada.
Now they're looking at Alberta, and there was a poll on April 6th as far as how many Albertans would vote for independence. They said if the Liberals won, 30%.
Jeez.
I think that number can get quite a bit higher. If we cut through the fog a little bit and actually get to the reasons that Alberta, I would argue, not should, Albertans, Canadians, and if anyone else wants to have take a sober look at yourself right now, you need to leave Canada. Canada is not what you thought it was. Canada is a Marxist hellhole. And by the way, Alberta, the rest of Canada despises you. Americans won't. Yeah. Americans will welcome.
Not all of Canada despises Alberta, but at least more than 50% of the population does. Yeah, I would agree with that.
You with open arms. This isn't just trolling. It's not 51st state and you're subservient. It's territory or a state, and you now have access to the world, and your people can flourish. If you choose to stay with Canada, you will wither on the vine and die, and I'll make the case as to why other Canadians don't want you to be a part of their utopia. Reason number one, okay? That's what Ottawa does not share your values.
For everybody in the chat right now who lives in Alberta, would you vote for this referendum to leave? Is that something you'd be interested in? Because I'm in Ontario. I voted Conservative, and every single time here in Ontario, it's really the Solid City GTA area that always goes bright red, and that's the main reason why Ontario is the way it is. But all of rural Ontario goes blue every time, and it's gone more blue and more blue over the past 5 years. And even some ridings within that really heavy GTA area have gone blue.
Whatsoever. Ottawa, for those who are American, that's basically their equivalent of, Washington, D.C. It's kind of silly to us Americans, but I get that it matters to you.
Ottawa, what?
Pretty much. So, Carney, he has extensive ties to China and the CCP, beyond the LGBTQ AIP, beyond the crazy taxation, beyond the liberalization of all social, cultural issues and removal of God from your country's town squares. He directly aligns himself with the CCP, ergo your liberal government will. So the CCP, unlike what they tried to accuse the United States elections of being controlled by Russia. Remember that? Remember that whole thing? CCP pushed online influence campaigns to get Carney elected. This is verifiable. This comes from the CBC, to be clear. In 2017, Carney met with Xi Jinping in private at Davos as China was trying to fight Trump in a trade war back then. Now, China is importing record amounts of Canadian oil to offset what's happening with the United States, and Carney has said that they need to open up relations more with China. So they want to narrow relations with the United States, open them up with China. And this is why the left will have to eventually implode. But you have to be the one here. You have to be the one pulling that ripcord, Alberta. It's one thing to say, hey, we have a problem with the United States and, these reciprocal tariffs. It's another thing to say, Donald Trump is a fascist and he doesn't respect human rights. So we're going to align ourselves with China.
I mean, he's not wrong, though. China, out of all places, guys. Woo! That is not somewhere I would want to live.
It's not a moral virtue. That tells you it's about money. And the money, if you track it with Carney, is it's hair-raisingly scary.
Yeah, and under Trudeau, the Chinese military actually trained with the Canadian military.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. This is a well-known thing, and there are police stations, Chinese police stations, and embassies, and all of this within Toronto. They kind of just have their way in Canada. It's just the honest truth. I don't know why our military isn't doing exercises with the United States, but no, we're doing it with China. That's fantastic. Great stuff, guys. Thank you, Trudeau government. Thank you. Yeah, that's what we want. Not in 2019 and in 2020. Yeah, that's fantastic.
So it seems like they're just using Canada as basically a way to get at us.
Yes. And here's the thing, Albertans, and all of you Canadian conservatives, I hope you understand, when we say that Canada is a bad neighbor, we're talking about people in positions of power who allowed the Chinese military to train with them.
In Canada.
Yes.
Do you guys understand it? Alberta, put some distance between yourselves and these guys. Reason number 2, Alberta, you guys will have more control over your own destiny and be a more prosperous nation or state. To give you an idea, across all levels, Canadians pay higher income tax and sales tax than Americans. It's unbelievable. To give you an idea, the highest individual tax rates, too. In the United States, it kicks in about $626,000. Canada is $246,000. My home province of Quebec, the provincial rate was 20-something%, and it kicked in. Now I think it kicks in at $120,000. Back in the day, it was below 6 figures because you're considered really wealthy. No one there has disposable income. Alberta, it doesn't need to be this way. You can have the kind of tax burden that we have here in the United States. Wouldn't that be a nice relief? It would also, by the way, allow Alberta to negotiate, if let's say they become some kind of a territory, not the 51st state, to negotiate independently with the United States. That would be a huge benefit considering the energy industry in Alberta and how that is dictated by the rest of Canada, by people in Ottawa who, by the way, don't want Alberta to have their thriving energy industry. Which brings us...
If they were a territory and they had to negotiate trade between the United States and do the same thing with Canada, they would learn quickly that it would be easier to deal with us.
Alberta, you have a choice. You want your energy going at rock bottom prices to China with a wink and a nod? Or do you want to be in control of your own destiny and choose to trade and choose to engage in trade as far as your energy with the United States. Or again, be a state where I can't imagine a more prosperous Alberta. Reason number 3. This brings us to opening up that energy sector. To give you an idea, a lot of Americans don't know this. Alberta accounts for 84% of all oil production. And almost half of all U.S. oil imports are from Alberta.
Canada is absolutely cooked as a country if Alberta leaves. We're talking billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars in a very high-functioning a part of the country. That sector of natural resources, oil, gas, it's for Alberta to leave, Canada collapses, which would cause most likely Quebec to leave as well. And I mean, honestly, I don't care if Quebec leaves, but I care if Alberta leaves. I'm being real here. And it's becoming more real by the hour based on all of your guys' responses in the chat saying, absolutely, we don't want to be a part of this anymore. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. You guys go heavy blue every election and are held hostage by the East. By a bunch of people in the very, very far East as well who live their lives fishing, and I don't know what else they do over there other than fish. And the very liberal government, college, university sector in the GTA, the Greater Toronto area. Which, once again, I got to point out, looked to be slowly going more blue, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Especially when it keeps happening over and over again. Everybody knows it. That very packed center, Toronto, Oakville, Mississauga, all of that area. You know that.
There's a lot of red tape. There's also sometimes you can get crude oil and then it has to be refined and sent back. Wouldn't it be nice to just be able to do business together? Wouldn't it be nice to not have to go through Ottawa, to go back to you guys, to then maybe deal with the states, even though now people like Carney don't want you to because reciprocal tariffs? It would also allow the United States, by the way, to have access to far more oil and energy and not have to open up new drilling because you guys already have the capabilities. It would be a benefit to the United States. It would be a benefit to Canada. It would also allow us to negotiate other tariffs if they exist. If you're not a state, if you're a state, there would be no tariffs. As far as what industries could reduce the cost of living for Canadians, like dairy, for example, like consumer goods that you could get for significantly less money. So you could have far greater employment because now you have the economic might of the United States along with your natural reserves. And you could have a much lower cost of living. Just to give you an idea, this weekend, other Canadians don't want you to have your autonomy, Alberta. This is what happens with totalitarian regimes. And when I say totalitarian, I'm talking about the regime that froze truckers' bank accounts. And many of those truckers, by the way, were Albertans. That's a huge part of the industry there in Canada.
Yep. And that was under Trudeau. It's probably only going to be worse under Carney. Not even probably. It will be. It absolutely will be. They want to be net zero by God knows when, probably like 2050. They want to get rid of all gasoline-powered vehicles by, what was it, 2036, 2032? Around that range. And any car manufacturer that produces over a certain limit, say the limit's 1,000 cars and you produce 1,200 cars, a $20,000 tax on every car you produce over that limit. If a car costs $30,000 average, you can expect it to cost $50,000 average. And they want to push electric vehicles, which aren't sustainable, which use a lot of these demonized fossil fuels to mine the resources to build. Okay? They want to demonize natural gases and all of these natural processes or drilling and all of that. But they go out and quarry mine lithium using diesel trucks, diesel machinery, shipping it back and forth around the country, either on plane or truck. And they want to sit here saying, oh, don't worry, guys, we'll be net zero or all electric cars by 2030. but you're still using all these diesel-powered machines to do it. It's not saving the environment like they believe it is. It's just simply not. And these batteries in the cars are 20 times larger than your average car battery. So where are they going to go when they die, when the battery dies in an electric vehicle? You're going to have these massive battery farms, fields full of batteries that they can't get rid of, that are 20 times larger than your average car battery. It's ridiculous. It's a pipe dream. It's not feasible. Especially when cars now produce emissions to the lowest amount they ever have. If they don't produce gas vehicles to the lowest emissions possible, they get charged and they get taxed. And the cars don't even make it past the regulation checks. That's how far it's gotten. If we really want to look into this, our country producing emissions is the lowest in the entire world. While places like China and India do what they please. Just the fact of the matter. It's an insanity, delusional pipe dream.
They froze your bank accounts and seized your assets for speaking out against said regime. And then you have the media in Canada that condemns you, who voted for conservative change 2-1. An op-ed from the Toronto Star was titled, perhaps it's time Alberta does go it alone and says goodbye to Canada. In the article, this author raged at the Alberta Premier, Danielle Smith, for wanting to expand your own pipelines.
Jeez.
Why? Wokeness. Cultural Marxism. In other words, it's the lifeblood of your economy. You have the right to that. Not according to people in Toronto and Ottawa.
They hate you.
They wrote this: if Smith has any sensitivity to people elsewhere in Canada, including Indigenous peoples who might object to having pipelines traversing their land, she doesn't show it. I mean, how much Windex do you guys need to huff? You can't have pipelines going through your land. You know this benefits everybody. Well, should we go back to living off the land and hunting the buffalo to extinction? And
we definitely need more pipelines, but it's not just the natives that are blocking it. It's also the bloc. Blanchette said numerous times he believes that pipelines are not the way to go. He wants clean energy. Quebecers want clean energy here in Quebec. That's what he has claimed time and time again. But yeah, the land, the environment problems that they constantly bring up, yeah, whatever. At the end of the day, these pipelines would do more good than bad. It would bring jobs to the country. It would bring more money, an inflow of a lot of cash that we are seriously needing in this country, as the Liberals pushed us over the threshold of $40 billion in debt, or the deficit of last year. We went $21.8 billion over. Yeah, we definitely need to start building here in Canada. We need an infrastructure that will bring our economy upwards. And this government's just not going to do it. They're simply not going to. And if Alberta leaves, yeah, the economy collapses probably instantly.
Having zero respect for nature, burning all of our crap and trash like many Native American tribes did? Or should we go back to their law of the land where they were warring with each other and scalping women and children?
I apologize for that, guys. I think I had a bit of a internet spike there. I think we're back, though. Everything seems to be good.
You guys looked into the Algonquin and Iroquois, these are the primary tribes in eastern Canada. That's where I was raised. I don't necessarily know which tribes were the most prolific there in Alberta. So what's the implication? So because of Indigenous people in other provinces, Toronto and Ottawa should tell you, Alberta, what you can and can't do with your energy. Oh, and by the way, we're also going to tell you where it goes. We're going to sell it at rock bottom prices to China because America bad. This seem like people who represent you? Do these seem like your countrymen? That's the question. Canada, I want you to ask yourself, Albertans, do these people seem like your countrymen? It's a different question today than it was even 10 years ago, 5 years ago. You basically had a referendum. You've been squeezed. Your country's becoming a catastrophe. And the rest of Canada who hates you says, yep, we want more of the same. And you can bet they are going to tighten the screws on you, Alberta, because you have not been playing ball with them.
And they're financing part of the people that are coming against them, essentially, because $20+ billion, I believe was last year or 2 years ago, was what they basically sent out above the benefits they received from the federal government. So they're subsidizing all the rest of these people's lives to be able to do this. They'd be richer if they didn't.
Yep.
Not just on the tax breaks alone, just on money going out and benefits coming in.
Change subsidizing the rest of a country who can't stand you to profiting from a nation who welcomes you. So yeah, I
or
get it.
At least indifferent.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there would be a lot of Americans who would be very happy.
Oh yeah.
It would be the first time that you guys had the backbone to say no. This would be the first time you actively fight something. It's different with the monarchy. Look, I know that I'm kind of insulting you here, but I'm telling you that America has a very different history. We've had to fight for this. It's different from Canada. I know that there are fights throughout history, but not to the same scale. It's your chance to do it, and you can do it without the same level of risk, without the same level of bloodshed. But I'm telling you, they will bleed this province dry. What they have been doing isn't working, and they're doing it in the name of hating your values. Which brings us to reason number 4. You do this, there really wouldn't be any resistance, just to be clear. Like, the likelihood of a war, maybe it's more than 0%, but it's pretty much 0% statistically.
Well, considering how many people have voted already on this thing, I don't know if there would be much resistance. I don't know. There might be a few Albertans who would not want it at all to obviously become a part of the States or leave Canada. One or the other, become your own nation there. At the end of the day, if it happens, Canada would collapse. It's just the truth, and it would be instant. It wouldn't be the slow. I say a slow decline, but it's more like a very, very, very quick decline we are in right now. It would be instant, though, if Alberta left. It really would be. And I wonder if Quebec would follow suit as well, if that sort of thing were to happen. Based on all these votes and everything that's coming out right now, guys, I don't know. I don't hate Alberta either. I need to point that out. Like I said, I'm from Ontario. I don't hate Alberta. As a matter of fact, if you guys did separate, I would probably consider moving there as well. Just being real. Alberta seems like my kind of people, you know what I mean? Here in the GTA, I don't know, a lot of crazy liberals.
Kind of like your chances in the United States of America as a heterosexual, monogamous male getting AIDS. It's statistically 0. Yeah. I know. It's crazy. You start meeting people in Los Angeles porta potties. Guess what? It goes up a little bit. So Canada effectively spends nothing on its military. And as Trudeau said, being the horrible neighbor that he is, and Carney's an extension of Trudeau, Canada won't even reach its 2% commitment to NATO until, which they agreed to initially. That's the contract. They won't honor their contract. They won't begin to honor their contract until 2032. Sorry.
God, I can't believe we had 10 years of that guy.
Right clip, and another reason to separate. Here's another right clip.
As we continue such investments, Canada fully expects to reach NATO's 2% of GDP spending target by 2032.
Said that like a mic drop.
Guys, look, we asked for change. They're changing. So Carney apparently is saying that maybe he can do it slightly quicker.
In NATO. It's not just about setting a target between now and the end of the decade, but it's also spending that money wisely and effectively, and above all, as much as possible, potentially the majority.
One sec, they said it was the wrong spot.
But he said by the end of the decade, so 2030.
Okay,
so
by
he's
2030.
moving it up 2 whole years? Really?
Let me be clear. It's not about spending the money wisely and effectively, Carney. It's about spending the money because you fucking promised you would.
Yep.
I say this as a half Canadian. Pardon the language. This idea that they're not great neighbors. If you had let's say you had a storm, a hurricane, and you and your neighbor have a fence, And you say, hey, you know what, I'm going to put up a fence myself, but you know, we can put up a better fence that'll withstand the next storm if we go halvesies on it. And your neighbor says, sure, absolutely. You pay for it. He never gives you a dime and then starts decorating it and putting holes in it and using it as his archery wall. That's what Canada has been doing. And you know what, Alberta? You can be free from that baggage because it's not your fault. But we are holding all of you accountable for this. All of you. Hey, if something goes down, we won't protect the rest of Canada, but we'll protect you.
There you go.
That's the agreement at this point. To give you an idea, the Canadian, they spend $2.1 trillion on their military. That's 1.37% of their GDP. They have not.
And we've actually been asked since like 2016, 2017 to bump up our spending. It has been almost 10 years. And we've barely broke the margin of like 2.1 to 2%. Like I don't even know where our money is going. Brazil, Ukraine, other countries, I guess, foreign aid of some sort. We keep sending our weapons to Ukraine as well. Yeah, I don't know. I actually have no idea. Because this is something we've been asked to do for a long time now. And we're still not there. And we are saying that we're going to get there in another 5, 6 years, 8 years. Holy Christ, man. We have fallen behind as a country, and we have fallen pretty far. It's crazy to see.
Not honored their contract. The United States, $27 trillion, 3.5% of their GDP. This, look, and I get it. This is an issue that has.
Those are GDP numbers, by the way. Those are the GDPs, and that's the percentage they spend. We don't spend $27 trillion. So just wanted to make sure it came out a little weird.
What did I say?
It sounded like you were saying they spent trillions of dollars on the military. They didn't.
No, 27 trillion is our GDP, and we spent 3.4% of that.
Yeah, we spent 3.4%. I apologize. Yes, 3.4% of our GDP, 27 trillion. Okay, you guys got it. The references are available sometimes, especially when I get
hey, you're a little fired up.
Impassioned.
You should be.
Yeah, but you guys have the references right there. We honor the contract and then some, to the tune of almost double. Canada has not. Alberta, do you want to be yoked with the country that hates you and doesn't honor their agreements? Be the place that honors its agreements. Be the place that benefits. Be the place that actually becomes a country of rugged independence. Hey, do you want your free speech? There's one way. Yeah. Hey, do you want to have something resembling Second Amendment rights? There's one way. Do you want to have control of your own energy industry? There's one way. Do you want to stand in the face of communist tyranny that we see growing with the threat of China? There is one way. Do you want your people to benefit economically and to have a future for your children that isn't stifled socially, culturally, economically, across the board? There's one way.
I was just about to say, across the board, literally in every way, shape, and form. Because as we currently sit here, I don't know when Parliament will return, but as soon as Carney attempts to pass a bill and it most likely fails because of, well, I don't know if it'll fail because they might get the support of the NDP. But as soon as something like that happens, a non-confidence vote will be called, which will most likely fail as well. And we could be here for another 6 months with Carney, or we could be here for another 4 years or 2 years with Carney. If you want to call another snap election, or if a non-confidence vote randomly goes through, I don't know at this point. We're stuck with him for minimum, probably a year to 2 years, though, if I had to guess. Worst case scenario, the whole term. But yeah, guys, if you are from Alberta, I don't blame you for wanting to leave. And if you do leave, I would say best to you, but it's more like best to the rest of Canada because you guys hold a lot of power in terms of your economic status. The things you guys have there. Yeah, sure, Ontario has steel and we get billions of dollars with steel and metal and all of that, but you got to have natural resources to get that steel. You got to have gas, you got to have diesel to get that going. So without you guys, it very well could be game over. Anyway, that is pretty much going to do it for today's live stream or show or whatever you would like to call it. I'm going to take one last look at the online political landscape here. I'm seeing that globalist is trending on Twitter right now. Wow, interesting stuff going on, guys. I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I will be back obviously next Wednesday for the NPC update. And if anything crazy happens between that time, expect a random pop-up stream, possibly. I don't know. But like I said, that's going to do it for today. Thank you all for watching. If you are new here, make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button. And I will see you in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Hopefully YouTube works next time as well. We had some issues today. Had some issues starting the stream, had some issues midway, but everything worked out. Anyway, take it easy, guys.